Again, I'm from the American Chemistry Council. We are a trade association in Washington, D.C., and I work in their plastics division. But I'm not here today to talk specifically about that, but more to talk about our research project, Materials Recovery for the Future. This is a US-based research initiative. So let me pose a question before I continue. So what if we could find a way, an economically viable way, to recover flexible plastic packaging and then scale that initiative nationwide? That's the question that the Materials Recovery for the Future Research Collaborative posed and set out to solve. We have a pretty simple, straightforward mission, or vision statement, I should say. Flexible packaging is recycled, and the recovery community captures value from it. And I want to reiterate that second part here, that the recovery community captures value from this material. So this project started off in 2014 when Dow Chemical did some initial research on flexible plastic packaging recycling with RRS. Shortly thereafter, the research collaborative came together. As you can see, we have a wide range of members that represent the entire value chain. These members provide the expertise. They also provide funding for the research, and RRS helps them come up with the research plan and execute it. And the program is, I should say, the collaborative is hosted by the Foundation for Chemistry Research and Initiatives, which is an independent research arm of the American Chemistry Council. So what does that mean? That means that all the funding that the companies provide goes directly to the research. So we talked a lot about collaboration this morning, and the members of this research collaborative are big on collaborating, and that's why you see so many different companies from so many different parts of the value chain working on this research. They see that we have similar interests when it comes to recycling, when it comes to materials management, so that's why they're all involved here. I want to step back for a second and say that research has shown that for a sustainable and healthy recycling and recovery program, that there are 6 steps. We are just researching one step. We're looking at the processing, the sortation and processing of flexible plastic packaging. There are a lot of other entities. These are all entities in the US. There are a lot of other entities that are doing research on other parts of this value chain. Okay, so why recycle flexible plastic packaging is important today? Well, for one thing, there's a lot more of it now. Now, let's see, I think it was Kelly who gave a great example this morning about the coffee and the steel can, and now is in flexible plastic packaging. Same thing with, for example, tuna fish. It's now in flexible plastic packaging instead of a tin. Laundry detergent. Those Tide pods, instead of coming in the big jug, it comes in the little pods, and that's in flexible plastic packaging. So the material is really there, and those of us who work in the industry know the multiple benefits that it has. The one issue with it is it's not currently recycled. And for consumers, that's a huge issue. Consumers really want their packaging to be recycled. The consumers also want to know that the brand companies out there know that and are working on that. So that brand companies are using recycled content in their packaging. They're reducing the amount of packaging that they're using, and they're making sure that that packaging at the end of its life can be recycled. Again, this morning we talked a lot about the life cycle analysis of flexible plastic packaging. It has a wide range of benefits. It uses fewer raw materials. It's lightweight, so it's easier to transport, uses less fuel when you transport it. It has superior product protection when compared to other forms of packaging. All of that is great. Again, consumers don't really care. Consumers want to see that at the end of the product's life, they can put the package in the recycling bin. If they can't, they view that package as contributing to packaging waste. So the members of the research collaborative, especially the brand companies, they get that. And this is a quote from that I really like. This is from one of our members. They said, you know, in 50 years, when they're digging up landfills, we don't want our flexible plastic bags coming out of the landfills with our logo on it and our name on it, and for that material, for that package to be labeled as permanent branded litter. They also get that this problem is more than just one company, and that's why they're coming together. All right, so we have our marching orders. We need to recycle this material. If you're in the recycling industry, if you know anything about recycling, you know that can prevent, or that can be a huge issue. Just take a look at this image. And this is image of plastic film in a materials recovery facility, or a MRF, that is jammed up sorting equipment. I personally get kind of queasy looking at this. So we know it's a huge problem. And even if the flexible plastic packaging doesn't jam up sorting equipment, it oftentimes gets sorted with paper or the fiber stream. So what happens is the disc screens, they sort material based on whether it's two-dimensional or three-dimensional. So flexible plastic packaging gets flattened out when it goes into the MRF. And so then it's read as two-dimensional, gets in with the paper and fiber stream, ends up in the paper bales, and that's a contaminant. That's a problem for the paper bales. So the research collaborative, they knew all this going in, but they said, well, is there another way? Is there a way that we can optimize existing equipment and actually sort this material? Remember, I said at the beginning we want an economically viable solution, so we want to see if we can optimize what we already have. So this just sort of shows our initial research to sort of follow the flexible plastic package through the stream. We found that the most cost-effective way to capture this material was loose as opposed to bagged. Now, I will say that there are other entities out there that are researching collection, different types of collection. One of them is the Dow Chemicals Energy Bag. So they're working on looking whether or not this material can be captured from the consumers in it bagged. But we're just focusing on loose collection here. So what we did was we did tests. We sort of seeded the stream with the flexible plastic packaging to see how it would flow, and we found that it was the auto sorting worked if you optimize the equipment. We also found that it was easier to put it in a mixed bale as opposed to separating it out by resin, especially since a lot of this packaging is uses multiple types of resin. All right, so just quickly, our research results. These are all results that we did last year in 2016 and concluded over the summer and in the fall. So we did a baseline test to figure out what were we working with before we tried to optimize any of the equipment. Found that about 88% of flexible plastic packaging would flow with the fiber stream, flow with the paper. So again, okay, it usually ends up there. What are we going to do? So second thing we did is we did some equipment tests. Found that optimizing the equipment tests, or optimizing the equipment, we were able to sort out this material. After we did that, we ran 3 different MRF tests, and up here you see the results of 2 of those 3 MRF tests. And found that we were able, for the most part, we were able to separate this material from the paper and have a pretty good stream. One issue, we did find that when we were separating this material, the paper then, some of the paper would start to flow with the flexible plastic packaging. So we continued to optimize the equipment, and that's when we found that in terms of really making this work, the ejection air nozzles are going to be really key. So that's won't get too much into the weeds, but when the paper and the flexible plastic packaging are together, the ejection air nozzles blows out a little puff of air based on what type of material it is, and that allows it to sort the paper and the fiber away from the flexible plastic packaging. If you want more information, if you want to find out additional details about our research, this is in a free report. This is on our website, materialsrecoveryforthefuture.com, and I'll put the URL up at the end of the presentation as well. All right, so those were our results from our 2016 research. Next steps for us is to do a pilot program. So we want to work with a materials recovery facility and a community to actually put this into action. We want to test this out. And part of that pilot would be optimizing the equipment that is in the MRF, in the materials recovery facility, since our research show that we need to do that in order to make this work. We've got 4 work groups working on different components of this project. The first one is the end market assessments. I think I mentioned at the beginning. Go back. Mentioned at the beginning here that part of our vision is that the recovery community captures value from this material. So if there's no place for this to go, if there's no place for the flexible plastic packaging bale to go, there are no end markets. The material's just going to sit there, right? So we have to make sure this material has a home. So there are a lot of different options for these bales. I've just listed a few of them here: mechanical recycling, chemical recycling, waste to energy, different technologies there. So those are things that our work group is working on. The other thing they're working on when it comes to end markets is they're coming up with bale specs for flexible plastic packaging bales. Right now, there are no bale specs. So if a company would be interested in buying this material, they don't know exactly what they're getting. It varies from bale to bale, and if they're not exactly sure what they're getting, they're not going to want to buy it. So let me see here. What's this? So these are some examples of end products for flexible plastic packaging in Europe. There are a lot of end markets in Europe right now, not so many in the US, but this technology proves that there are options for us out there. There are options for us to take this flexible plastic packaging and convert it into other products. And we've actually been in touch with some of these companies in Europe, and they, prior to us getting in touch, prior to the Research Collaborative getting in touch, had already expressed interest in wanting to look at, coming to the US. But they want to see that there's going to be some material there for them before they start to come over. Our second work group is identifying this partner community and this partner MRF. So there's just some sort of basics here that I want to go over. When this work group is looking at, who's going to partner with us, they're spending a lot of time running this business, looking at the business model. So we've developed this sort of economic tool, this pro forma tool, that allows our consultant, RRS, to work with the MRF, put in all the information and see whether or not adding flexibles would be, at the very least, cost neutral for the MRF, and at best, make them some money, right? Again, this has to be economically viable, otherwise it's going to be really challenging to make this work. We're also looking for other things like community support. The local government, are they interested in this? Do they want this to happen? Do maybe the city or the community has zero waste goals? This can help them meet zero waste goals. And then again, we're looking at, are there some existing end markets, ideally in the area? And this just goes further in explaining how the process works. Our third work group is equipment testing. So we did a lot of equipment testing in 2016. We're continuing to do that. We want to maximize the extraction of the flexible plastic packaging, and we want to minimize the amount of paper and fiber that goes into that. So we're continuing to do this equipment testing. And then the fourth work group is communications and engaging the recycling industry. So we really feel like we have this great story to tell, this great research. When my colleagues have talked at conferences, when I was at the Sustainable Brands Conference in Detroit, Michigan a couple weeks ago, everyone who found out about this said, this is really cool, we're really glad someone is working on this, we really want to be able to recycle this material. So it's important for us to be able to tell our story. So we're really working on, engaging with the industry, keeping them involved and that sort of thing. All right, so that's sort of an overview of our next steps, our immediate next research steps. Looking a little bit longer term, again, I mentioned this is a multi-year research program, so we're looking at, further down the road, what can we do? What can we do to better, more shore up end markets? And how do we, define the systems of the future? And just quickly, the red boxes are the components of research that we either have already conducted or we are about to embark on. Just one more time regarding collaboration. Collaboration is key. We really, our members of the Research Collaborative really feel like in order to make this happen, we all need to work together. So I ask you if you are interested in this at all to become part of the solution. So we have our contact information up here of my colleague, who is the project manager for this, and then also our lead consultant on the project. And thank you very much.